acknowledged that his school is subject to an ongoing FBI investigation, and Auburn has now lawyered up following the arrest Tuesday of basketball assistant Chuck Person. The Angels lost last night. They were eliminated from the American League wildcard race, losing to the White Sox 6-4 in 10 innings. With their loss, the Twins clinched the AL wildcard berth despite losing to the Indians 4-2. Cubs wrapped up the NL Central title for the second straight year after beating the Cardinals 5-1.
It's the second annual Wine on the River, presented by Southern Glazers, WGNO-TV ABC, and NOLA.38, the CW. Join us Saturday, November 11th at Audubon Aquarium Plaza. Tickets on sale now for only $49, so get your tickets today. Enjoy wines from around the world, great food, and live entertainment.
What's my overall record
today
in college?
Online at
Your overall record, sir. You're actually making up some ground.
Proceeds benefit Louisiana
I am 25 and 15.
I mean, this thing would be rolling
25
in
and
Vegas
15
against the spread.
Duncan is 20 and 20, and you
Welcome
are now
to Zip Poll USA, the polling app that lets you tell the nation
500 means I
Zip
make
app
up
today.
ground.
It's Thursday, September
The first
28th.
week, I
Kylie
just got
Jenner is pregnant, and
slaughtered.
Travis Scott is
Well,
the
that's
father.
'cause
The
I-
two have only been together since April.
I think I'm
This is
still
too
above
fast.
500
84% of
in
people polled
NFL.
agree.
Yeah, I was
This
about to say,
is
we need to get
happening
the NFL
way
record.
I
too
know, I need to
fast.
go
That
listen
leaves
back
the other 16% who are
and see
saying
who
no
picked what,
because they
figure it
already
out.
knew
Because
they wanted
obviously
a
Jim is
family.
going to be.
Really?
Jim's going to be
Walmart's new
Well,
delivery
yeah.
service wants
Jim
to
already
put your
has made his
groceries right
picks,
in your
so
fridge
there you
for
go.
you. They'll access your home through a security app, and you can watch the whole time.
Oh, yeah,
Are you
bad
in
link,
or out?
yeah.
First of all, I don't even understand how this is going to work. Second of all, I'm so happy to report that
Yeah, delete
89%
that
of men and
tweet.
women polled want
I put a bad
absolutely
link on that.
nothing to do with
Dang
this.
it.
Finally, an
I'm
absolutely
redoing
world
it
peace. Or maybe
now,
just prove
so.
your point. Now you can poll the masses by downloading Zip, the question answer app, in the App Store.
Hi, this is Dave from the Foo Fighters.
iHeartRadio music you should know from the Foo Fighters.
One of the coolest things about being in this band is that we can get as heavy and as rough as too with riffs.
That's
But
right.
then we can always push out with those melodies and harmonies on top of them.
Check out Foo Fighters' new album, Concrete and Gold, on iHeartRadio All Access. Sponsored by RCA Records.
Napa know-how. When you purchase a set of Napa brake pads and rotors, you get a discount code from Fanatics.com worth up to $50 towards your favorite sports gear. While Napa can't help your team reach the promised land, we can help make sure your car will, because these brakes come with something
Yeah,
no
someone
sports
complaining
team
about
does.
politics.
Guaranteed
And I
performance.
didn't even
Great
think that
brakes,
Julius
great
was
price, great fan gear. That's Napa know-how.
I'll make sure to do that.
Offer
Yeah, I
expires
tweeted it
September
out.
30th, 2017.
When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers. But
Sorry.
that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect
my show.
parent.
I'll do what I
Teens in
want.
foster
Do what
care
I
will love you
want.
just the same.
Cartman and Holder.
On adoptuskids.org.
Is that what I know?
No,
start-
Jeff pulled that last week, and so Dave just
Jeff
started.
has a fantastic Cartman, which is so frightening.
He didn't mean to like.
As long as it's not Kenny and Holder.
And that
Right.
means being out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Joining me and 1 million people who
No,
can
I said it should be
and hiked our state parks last
Cartman
year.
and
As
Butters.
We invite you to do the
Cartman
same.
and
Every corner of Louisiana is something
Everyone
else.
knows
From
that
the
it's
world
Butters.
at
That's
Toledo
me.
Bay to paddling at Fountainbrook to exploring the ancient mounds at Poverty Point World Heritage Site. So fill up your car and
When we used to
staycation
at
right
the
here
closing of
in our
every
home,
show when I was doing
Louisiana.
sports hangover,
IRS doesn't
I
mess
would
around. If
I would
they
end
want
it.
your money,
Josh would say
they'll take it.
adios
They can take your
amigos, and I would
paycheck
say
and bank accounts
"See
too,
ya!"
even
and
threaten
it
your
was
home
from
or
the,
business, and it's about to
episode
get
where
worse.
Randy
The
was in a
IRS
boy
just hired
band,
an army
and all
yeah.
the girls would jump out of his
So,
bed,
if
"See
you
ya,
owe
see
back
ya,
taxes,
see ya,
the
see ya,"
smartest
and that was
thing
like
you
my.
Did they catch it?
seconds, ladies.
No,
has access to
Yo, what up?
IRS tax assistance
Good,
program
and then we
called
got.
Who's in a boy band? Larry, you're in a boy band?
I'd love
No,
to
he
be in a
wants
boy
to be in a
band.
boy
even
band.
tens of thousands. One call starts the process to stop the demand letters. Stop a
What was Jeff's band called? Oh my God, there's something Tomahawks or what the
Jeff
hell was
had
it
a
called?
band.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
He
They
mentioned
were
it once.
rappers, remember?
Oh, yeah, crap.
Oh, I know. Oh my God, what was it?
Panic.
It was the name of his school or something. It was like.
We're gonna have to ask him when it comes on.
Well, all right, 10 seconds.
800-798-2477.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Duncan Holder on a Thursday, September 28th, and I fear for my radio life today. How am I going to juggle Jim Derry being back in Jeff Duncan's chair as Jeff, of course, still across the pond.
The Reaper.
Exactly. I'm already fearing that. And, of course, it's Thursday, which means the return of Clyde and the return of Clyde's day to shine. And he's already waving his hands, gloating, because it's Picks
25
Thursday.
and 15.
Picks Thursday.
That's all I hear. 25 and 15.
If I could imagine, like, my own walk-up music would definitely be regulated by Warren G. So that's in my head right now. So I'm just kind of... Dun, 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 dun. So that's my entrance music right there.
My entrance music would be 90210. There's no question about it.
You would, Donna.
But see,
Brando the Mando.
Y'all talk about what your walk-up music is. Our fantastic,
to an angel.
That's the wrong show.
Our fantastic producer already has my walk-up music.
Well,
I actually have. Y'all talk about it. I really have walk-up music every Friday when I call. He has it ready.
You created a whole genre of a Friday show, Country Fried Friday. Thursday's show has no theme, but it's and yes, that's okay.
That's why you.
Clyde, I'm going to correct you since you correct me all the time on country music and God knows what.
That's 90210.
No, it's not. He did not sing that song. Ray Pruitt did not sing that song in 90210. He sang it in a spin-off show that lasted about a season.
Wow, and
called
you know that.
The Heights.
You know this.
Of course I know it.
So sad. I'm depressed right now.
I'm sad because he knows this, and I'm sitting next to him.
Yeah, right?
At least you're across the room.
Thank you. Good point. That's why I sit over here.
Exactly.
Can we talk about sports?
We'll try for most show at least, but we got a pretty jammed up show. This week has been locked and loaded, so it's been fun. It's been a good show without Jeff, and but we'll bring Jeff back in.
Speaking of loaded,
I think he's working right now as the Saints are probably wrapped up their Thursday practice session across the pond. We'll have Jeff Duncan come on in about 8 minutes. Give us an update on what's going on over there. And after that, the next segment, we'll hear from Sean Payton. He spoke to the media early. I'm talking, he did his daily conference call with the media at 4:45 our time in the morning. So that's long done. So
that's Herbie Teope time.
Exactly. We get to hear from him around 10:30. Around 11 o'clock, we'll have Andrew Lopez. We'll go up to Baton Rouge and talk LSU Troy. And we'll talk probably looking past that LSU Florida. And I want Andrew's perspective on this college basketball scandal that's already taken Rick Pitino's job. And as you heard on the top of the hour break, Adidas was already involved, and now it sounds like Nike's going to be involved. And the trash can has been kicked over in college basketball, and it's oozing everywhere.
Best T-shirt of the month is the T-shirt that shows the bracket. Louisville at the bottom, and I got to get one for Duncan. It's got Louisville in the bottom, it's got the FBI on the top, and the FBI winning that.
FBI is advancing.
Winning that tourney game and moving on, and we got to get one for Mr. Duncan.
I have to say I did see that T-shirt and chuckled, of course, so I'm sure Jeff is crying in his tea and crumpets over Louisville's demise. But we'll talk with Andrew Lopez about that story as well. Let's see if it affects LSU. I doubt it since Will Wade hadn't been around long enough for it to affect him, at least here at LSU. But, yeah, it's going to be a big – it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse for college basketball.
By the way, on the prep front, just to throw this in, the rumor is the next Rummel coach is Rick Pitino.
We'll take him.
That's just the rumor.
We'll take him.
Desperate.
I'm in. Anything to get the program rolling. Come on.
Yeah, well, they're rolling.
He'll still be the second best coach there besides Jay Roth. You know, Jay Roth still tops him.
Oh, my God.
No
Buy
doubt
him
about
some
it.
dinner.
There you go. So around 11:20, we're going to talk to our NOLA.com Times-Picayune political reporter. Oh, yes, political reporter, Julia O'Donoghue. And she has been keeping track of what's been going on locally, statewide, as far as politicians jumping off the Saints train. I want to get her perspective from what she's been hearing, who she's been talking to, and yes, I know I've seen people not wanting us to talk about politics, but
that'll get the ratings up.
Too bad. We have a political reporter we can talk to on our staff. We're going to talk to her, and so she's been doing a great job covering that. And I'm sure she probably has not figured she'd ever be on a sports show, so we're going to have that. And then...
You think she knows what a quarterback is?
Oh, I know she does. She's a sports fan.
Okay.
She's definitely a sports fan.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to give the news people grief every now and then because they give us grief all the time.
There are people on the news side of our studio here at the foot of Canal Street, Canal Place, and I've already been gotten grief by one colleague, and she is angry that I told her to start Cam Newton last week.
Ugh.
I started him too.
You should not give fantasy advice.
No, I should not.
As you can tell by this record. You should.
That's
be doing
not
that
fantasy.
either.
That's losing money record. But as Clyde, of course,
nobody cares about your fantasy team, Larry.
Exactly. Except by the end of this week,
fantasy baseball team.
I care a lot about that because you better bring the money on Monday.
Oh, I'll bring the money.
It might be fourth place money by the time we get there. But
I know who's getting first place money.
Jim Derry's getting first place money. Anyway, 11:30 we will do our college picks, and Dave, on purpose, I did it at 11:30 because you think it could get long-winded with Clyde and Jeff. Imagine with Derry and Clyde. Dave,
I disagree vehemently.
We're going to be in trouble here.
I
So
vehemently
Dave,
disagree with that.
That's why you
make sure you be the cop over there.
We're bringing the news. We're bringing the info. I'm already trying to think of things here, entertainment and news-wise, to add to this. It's going to be a great segment again. I fully guarantee it.
The problem is it might ooze over into two segments, and then our commercial break people might not be happy. Our sponsors.
Thanks, sponsors.
Right,
Well,
exactly.
Just remember who controls the mic.
Dave does.
I know, exactly. He's
He'll-
waiting to click it.
He'll cut it down. So why don't we take a break right here on the show, and when we get back, let's head across the pond. Let's talk with Jeff Duncan, of course, one half of Duncan Holder. And look, we have not scratched out his name yet. It's still there. But we have no head on a stick. We don't have any of that.
Well, you got a JD, so it's fine.
It's exactly so. And Clyde, of course,
And
he's
then
here to
a
regulate.
JOD coming in a little while.
The OD.
Yeah, Julia.
Look at you.
See?
Being crafty over there.
He writes for a living.
Jeff Duncan's going to be on the show. Andrew Lopez, Julia O'Donoghue. And if we've got a second or two or 10, phone calls, 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Jim Derry sitting in. Clyde's here. We're all Duncan Holder today.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Jordy Holtzberg.
Defense is non-existent.
2 till 4.
They've got 7 new defensive starters, 3 new defensive coaches.
This is gonna be like cat herding all day.
I know. We got the damn hooligans in here.
All right, so we're calling Jeff, right?
Yes.
I don't think the YouTube people will take too kindly to that. I don't care what you say.
The YouTubers are the
Real certified.
They keep it sane.
Certify that the food you're buying is good for you and good for the planet. Make dining out easy and eat real. Look for us in your city and at eatreal.org.
Our sold-out 2017 iHeartRadio Music Festival. 2 nights, 1 stage, over 20 of the biggest artists on the planet. Celebrated with iHeartRadio fans from around the world for music's holy grail. Our sold-out 2017 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Coldplay, Pink, DJ Khaled, Thomas Rhett, The Weeknd, and more. iHeartRadio. Catch our iHeartRadio Music Festival TV special Wednesday and Thursday night, October 4th and 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on the CW.
As a small business owner, you're juggling it all, including customers' calls from your personal phone. But with Grasshopper, you get a business phone number and a business phone system from our mobile
Herbie's,
app.
of
So
course,
you can work
watching
smarter,
on YouTube,
not
and he's
harder.
bummed that we're not
Grasshopper
dancing.
calls,
He
texts, even
danced the whole show.
Did he really?
Everything you need to simplify
Yeah, because
your
he had
business and
Wobble
stay
Wobble
responsible.
Wednesday, and it was
With
bounce
Grasshopper,
music
no
everywhere.
contracts,
What?
and customer
Love
support
Wobble
is
Wednesday.
24/7.
Sorry, I missed
Whether you're
it.
starting
Tell us Sal is crushing you.
Grasshopper
I know
is the
that.
answer. Get $20 off your first month when you
You're
visit
getting a
grasshopper.com/radio.
9,997.
Haters.
No.
Haters.
Suppose Thomas Edison had given up.
Wow.
Who are they playing this week?
But
Riverside.
his failures only led him to the next idea.
Who'd you pick against them two?
I picked against
All right, we got
St.
Jeff.
Aug, and I
Las
picked
Vegas
against
dark,
McCall.
your home black. Picture
Hey,
no
still no
electric
fame.
light.
Oh, ye
I love Dallas.
moderate thing.
They're
Rumble along, baby.
Exactly.
Class of 98 with one Larry Holder.
I was 11
Cleary
years
boy.
old at my first.
All right, 30 seconds.
I fell, I don't know how many times.
Michelle Kwan is the most decorated figure skater in U.S. history.
But I had a dream. My dream came true because I dedicated myself.
Dedication made Michelle Kwan a champion.
I was passionate about something, and I made sure that I worked hard for it.
And dedication can make your dreams a reality.
Whatever your dream and goals are, they can come true.
Dedication. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Here we go.
Okay.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Jeff would be jamming to this song. I'm assuming he's jamming to this song here, listening to it through his phone over in London.
What he's doing in London.
I bet you. Well, he's on the phone with us. He can't be doing too many other things.
Hey, man, it's 6 o'clock in London.
Thank you, Dave, for that intro. I like that walk-in.
Yeah, I knew you'd like that walk-in.
Anytime.
There you go. Jeff Duncan, of course, my cohort in crime here on Dunc and Holder. In London with the Saints, taking on the Dolphins, 8:30 a.m. kickoff. People have been asking me what do they have to watch it via Yahoo? No, it's going to be on Fox, so locally it'll be on WVUE TV. Jeff, you just got I think this is the first day you were at practice because yesterday you were on special assignment. Why don't you give our listeners kind of a heads up on what the special assignment is that you're going to be doing with one Thomas Morstead's family?
Yeah, it was an adventure, guys. I mean, we took the train up to northern England to a little village called Bealsby, which is where Thomas Morstead's grandfather still lives. He has a 2,000-acre farm up there and basically is the patriarch of this entire village. And it's where Thomas Morstead's mother, Isabel, was born and raised. And so he has very deep roots in England and is very popular here. He's been over to this country 23 times, and actually today was the featured player after practice to the media. He trumped everybody, Mark Ingram, everybody. The big podium was for Thomas Morstead. So I think it's a really fun story about how he learned to punt a rugby ball from his uncle, who was a rugby player, in this little town thousands of miles away from New Orleans, and now, that spawned an NFL career. One of the best punters, not only in the NFL, but one of the best we've seen in the last probably 20 years.
Jeff, as far as family members, it sounds like they're going to be in full force. Why don't you give us a little preview of how many Morsteads are going to be lurking around Wembley Stadium?
Yes, actually, they're taking a shuttle passenger bus down from Bealsby. It's about a 3-hour drive, and there's going to be about 40 of them, all in attendance, all wearing number 6 Thomas Morstead jerseys. He even kidded that this might be the first game he's ever played in where there are more number 6 jerseys than number 9 jerseys in the crowd. And they're all excited. There's a lot of his English cousins and relatives that have never been to an NFL game before. They're all going to be in the crowd. They're all having a big dinner the night before the game on Saturday night. And, I was spending time up there yesterday at the farm. That could not be as far away, literally and figuratively, from the NFL in New Orleans. And I think that's one of the reasons why Thomas, you can tell when you talk to Thomas, and you all both, I'm sure, have talked to him, how grounded he is, how, I use this word, normal he is for an NFL star. But he very much is, and you can tell he's got these British roots to him, because his relatives all say, no one in Bealsby knows anything about the NFL. So when he comes to visit, he's just Tom from the United States, just fits right in with everybody else, although he is much bigger, of course, at 6'4", 220. But, really fun experience for us to go out and see another part of the country, as opposed to being here in London, a big, massive city. This was really a rural area, where there really is no knowledge at all of the NFL.
Well, it'd be a 2-hour drive if they drove on the right side of the road. Right, Dunc?
Trust me, we took the train because we didn't want to kill half of the citizens of England trying to drive ourselves up here. We're still trying to figure it out.
Have you ever tried that? Have you tried it at all?
International. No, I'm not about to try, JD. I mean, I'm smarter than that. We took the train, and it's fun because you can see the countryside, see a part of England that I've really never seen before. Very rural, agricultural area, and Thomas's grandfather has this massive farm. I mean, it's 58 fields with wheat and barley and beans, and it's out in the middle of the countryside in a very rural area. He's coming down to the game. He's 81 years old. Very proud, of course, of Thomas. And one of the funny stories I'll tell you about, they had a mantle up in the house with all some photos of all the family members. And Thomas, there was one of Thomas there in uniform, and you could see a field in the background. And we were asking where that was taken, and none of the aunts seemed to know where it was. And finally, one of them said, I think it was at that Super game. It was at that Super game. From the Super Bowl on the field in Miami. And they had no idea.
Well, look,
the whole Super game. Whee! Yippee! Yeah, exactly.
I've never asked Thomas this, but does he have a soccer background? Do you know?
Yes, he started out playing soccer in Houston, and then got cut from the team as before his senior year. Surprisingly cut, and that's why he went out for football as a senior at Pearland High School. One of the reasons he went out for football was because he got cut from soccer. Was disappointed, and his mom talked him into it because he could kick a ball so well. He ends up being like an all-state player in 1 year and walks on at SMU. So it's all part of the story of this really kind of accidental football star. And, you all heard what Bill Belichick said a couple weeks ago. I mean, Bill Belichick said Morstead's not only one of the best in the NFL, but one of the best punters that they've seen ever in this league. And I think if you look at him right now, he's second in the league in punting and having a great year.
Jeff Duncan joining us right here from London, right here on Duncan Holder. Jim Derry sitting in for the Dunc here in his seat at our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios at the foot of Canal Street. Jeff, football-wise, it seems like the Saints riding with confidence. It seems like they're getting healthier. Look, Marshawn Lattimore was a full go yesterday. That's pretty big news. Zach Streep was limited. Teron Armstead, even though he did a little practicing, was still considered did not practice because he didn't go through team drills. All signs point to the Saints having a real good shot at coming back stateside 2-2, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think they feel really confident right now. Like you said, they're getting healthier. They should get Willie Snead back. I think Zach Street probably won't play Sunday, but he should be good to go, you would think, after the bye week. He's wearing a big brace on that left knee, but looks pretty good walking around on it. So I think if they can come back 2-2, Larry, JD, I mean, they've got to feel great about themselves, considering all the adversity they've had with suspensions and injuries. I would think at 2-2 and having a home game against Detroit, who's playing well right now, would be about as well as you could expect, especially after starting so poorly 0-2.
Dunc, if they do start 2-2, if they're able to win this game, it'll be the first time in a while they go into a bye week without, someone complaining about a defensive coordinator should be fired, or it'll be the first time in a while, I think, that they'll go in with a good mood and feeling good about themselves.
Yeah, I tell you, we got word up here that they're not real happy, and I don't understand this, but it's typical of how NFL teams think of the paranoia. They're not real happy about getting here early and having all their video from practices and all the coverage shown, because they're not getting to see any of it from Miami. So there's a lot of subterfuge going on up here. Saints not wanting video at practice, they actually herded us over behind buses today at the practice, so we couldn't see the practice while it was going on, because there's so much paranoia that the Dolphins are going to pick out something, I don't know how, from 2 football fields away at practice, because the Saints are already here. The Miami Dolphins arrive late tonight, start practice tomorrow. So there's a little gamesmanship going on between these two teams, but it also underscores, I think, the importance of this game to the Saints. They know they really have to get this one, and I think they feel they can get it. So I think a lot of effort going in to try and make sure all bases are covered and they have a chance to go back home on that long plane ride at 2-2.
Jeff Duncan joining us right here on his own show. Wow, that's amazing here on Duncan Holder as Jim Derry is filling in. Of course, I'm Larry Holder.
The seat's getting more and more comfortable, Dunk.
I mean, yeah, so many people are jumping in and out of this seat. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be one left. Clyde's going to probably steal it next time. He's got a chance.
I'd like to. Possible.
He'd like to. But Jeff, the hubbub around this, you just talked about it, and maybe it's. I guess I could sort of see where at least Sean Payton's coming from, because what if London TV puts up something? Maybe Dolphins have BBC. I don't know, but are the Saints seemingly dealing with this, considering it's just a Week 4 game, and if it's here and they're going to the Dolphins in Miami, it would be business as usual? How are they handling this, considering it's more of an event? And the only two players that were around for the last time they went to London were Drew Brees and Zach Strief.
Well, I think it's a good question, Larry, because I think they're trying to keep it as business-like as possible. But you know how these things are. I mean, it's a dog and pony show over here. There's international media, not just media from England, but media from all over Europe. I did an interview today with Danish TV station. There's people from all over.
Oh, Morten Andersen.
I would say Morten must have set that up.
Man. That's true. And you know what? They asked me a lot about Morten Andersen, but the thing they most wanted to know about was how is Adrian Peterson going to get enough carries to satisfy himself?
Even the Danish fantasy football players want to know about this.
Good Lord.
It was hilarious. I was like, this is your most pressing question? But I tell you, the one thing that is overriding and very apparent the last day and a half has been, of course, the protest story, the national anthem, off the field story. That's what the British press has been asking the Saints about, and you can tell that it's kind of getting on their nerves. They've talked about it now for well over a week, and I think the players are just tired of talking about it. Frankly, I think they want to concentrate on the game. They weren't expecting this second go-round of questions, but it is not going away, and it's going to be the main storyline for a lot of teams. And Saints players today were trying to deflect that talk and really focus on the game, but the British media was having none of it. So we'll see how this plays out going into Sunday, but you know how Sean Payton is, guys. I mean, he wants them to focus on the task at hand, and it's just so hard to do in this kind of environment and atmosphere.
Yeah, and Sean was asked about it earlier today. We're going to play the soundbite in the next segment. Because, look, local politicians here are having a field day. It's not just people wanting to take away their money. It's John Bell Edwards is coming out and all the, so it's become a story that because it's the first time the Saints really did something like this, they're not going to be able to escape it. And people, look, we're going to have Julia O'Donoghue, our colleague, political reporter. She's going to come on in the 11 o'clock hour and talk about the statewide reaction. But all this reaction, we have to talk about it. It affects the team. Look, because they did it, and they had to know that reaction was going to come, and it wasn't just going to go away. I mean, I hope they at least had to understand that.
Yeah, and I think they understand. I think they just didn't expect it to be as far-reaching over here in England. I really think it kind of caught them off guard, because that is, without question, the storyline for the international media. Mark Ingram got asked numerous questions about it. So did Thomas Morstead. So I think they maybe thought this was more of a home country, a story in America, as opposed to a story across the pond, where they would have expected maybe to hear more about, hey, how'd you like the Arsenal match the other night? They weren't getting those questions. They were getting questions kind of politically oriented. But you're right. It's a big story. And look, it's not going away. I think it's only going to continue on throughout the season. The NFL, once you open up that spotlight, the spotlight doesn't turn off just because you want it to turn off.
Maybe if they play in Antarctica, they won't be asked about it. Otherwise, it's the story just about anywhere else.
Well, they could have played in Bealsby, the village of Bealsby.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I'm certain of that.
Well, they got plenty of farmland they could have made a football field out of over there, it sounds like.
Some sheepskin.
No one was going to ask them up there, but
really, Claude.
Look, we'll see. I like the attitude they've got going into this game, though. They're very confident, but not overly confident. I think they feel good about how they played against Carolina, and they want to build off of that. If they can continue to play this mistake-free football, no turnovers, keep the penalties down, and not beat themselves, this team, we know, is proven in the past that they can be a difficult out.
Yeah, Jeff, one more thing before we let you run. Just give that turnover tidbit, because I'm actually going to expand on it in my 1st and 10 column, but interesting tidbit you had in your column, I think it ran Tuesday on NOLA.com, about the turnovers. Yeah,
no turnovers through 3 games. I had to do some digging back in the archives for that one, Larry. I mean, it's never happened in the history of the franchise that they played the first 3 games of the season without a turnover, and their 12 penalties for 97 yards is the second lowest since like 2000. So they've really reduced their mistakes, and we hear Sean Payton talk about that all the time. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So far, they've really managed to not beat themselves. Even when they were losing games, it wasn't because they were beating themselves with turnovers and mistakes. Now, let's see if they can keep that up. They're facing a good defense that obviously is coming off a very poor performance against the New York Jets. The Dolphins guys have to be travel weary. I mean, they opened up in L.A., come all the way back to Miami, fly up to New York, and now they're all the way over here in London. They haven't even played a home game yet. So you got to think that the Saints have an advantage in that regard, and we'll see if it pays off and they can continue to play this mistake-free football and get out of there with another win.
Luckily, we're running out of time, so I can't ask you about Rick Pitino.
Yeah, it's funny is I was on a combine, a $400,000 wheat combine with the uncle of Thomas Morstead, going through this field of beans, doing my interview, and my phone starts blowing up. Everybody asked me about the Louisville situation. I didn't know what was going on, was completely out of pocket when probably the biggest story in Louisville athletic history happened, and I was completely clueless. Still don't even know really what happened other than he got fired and Rick and Tom Jurgens got fired. So I'll have to catch up on that in about 48 hours when I can come up for air.
Well, when you see Grandpa Morstead, ask him if they got a job in Bealsby for Mr. Pitino. He could probably be a wheat farmer. I mean,
Not at his age.
Man, y'all are just piling on.
My one Louisville comment, I don't think they're going to be the only program that has this on their face.
No, I don't think so either.
I think that's the tip of the iceberg.
I bet you it doesn't happen in Kentucky, though.
More are going to come out.
That stuff does not happen in Kentucky. That's what I'm just saying.
Jeff, I'm going to leave you be. They're piling on you.
That's not true.
I'm gonna go here. Claude's coming. Here
First
we
of all,
go.
2 things, Jeff, real quickly. Number 1, you're doing awful in picks. So I can't hear what you're saying, but you're doing awful in picks, number 1. And number 2, folks are asking about Alex Jenkins. If you have anything on that, quickly. Because, obviously he's a London boy coming home.
Yeah, he met with the media yesterday when I was up in Bealsby, so I didn't get a chance to hear how he came out of that. But he was a very popular person, as you can imagine. So, no, I didn't have a chance to talk to him, but I'm sure it's a huge story for him coming back playing in his hometown.
All right, Jeff, I'll spare you now. Sorry, I got to keep these 2 in line, and it's going to be an impossible task for the next 2 days. So, Jeff Duncan in London. The event tonight, real quick, let everyone know. I have no idea if they're listening on the iHeartRadio app in London, but let everybody know about the awesome event we're throwing. All kinds of great guests, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we're getting ready to head downtown for that shortly. So if you're listening, tune in to NOLA.com at 1 o'clock, I believe it is, Central Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, and we were having a media roundtable discussion on the game. Jim Henderson, the play-by-play voice of the New Orleans Saints. We're going to have Adam Beasley from the Miami Herald, our own Josh Katzenstein, and Juan Kincaid from Fox 8 in a little media roundtable answering questions from the crowd. We're going to have a fan gathering, lots of Saints fans here. Dolphins fans are going to come. Should be a great event, and we'll carry it live. At least the first half hour is going to be live on NOLA.com, so it should be a lot of fun.
Oh, awesome. So we'll have to check it out. So that's Jeff Duncan. We miss
you, Dunk.
We'll be talking to you again soon. If you survive tonight, maybe tomorrow. We'll see what happens. So there you go.
Yeah, I'll check in with you guys tomorrow. Thanks for having me on, and I appreciate you
it's
bringing
your
up the
show.
story.
You don't have to thank us for having you on. It's your show. See you, Dunk.
There you go. All right, that's Jeff Duncan. Let's take a quick break right here on the show. When we get back, we will hear from Sean Payton. Spoke with the media this morning, early. Like I said, 4:45 a.m. Central Time this morning, and we'll get his thoughts on Ndamukong Suh, Ryan Ramczyk, Jay Ajayi, P.J. Williams, practicing on rugby fields. significant. And
the scrum's going to break out.
There was a scrum going on literally while they were practicing.
It's time for a try.
And then we will also hear his thoughts on what's the next thing that might happen with the Saints with the national anthem. So we'll hear all of that coming up next here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Clyde's back. Derry's here. I'm here. We're all Duncan Holder.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Couldn't let him go without throwing in.
I like forgot.
Happy Thursday from the Fox 8 Weather Center.
Like one
Shelby Latino. Temperatures will climb into the low to mid-90s this afternoon for a hot and sunny day. We'll stay mostly dry even into tonight as temperatures fall into the upper 60s on the North Shore and low 70s on the South Shore. For your Friday, a cold front moving through will keep temperatures in the 80s throughout the day, but we'll keep those mostly sunny and mostly dry skies through the early part of the weekend. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. Have a great day.
The Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer is the top choice of
I
doctors,
didn't even
nurses,
mention
and other
this
health
last
professionals
place
nationwide. It can be yours too.
I mean, that's far. That's so. He's been out of it for so long. There's like no point at this rate.
Caring for your family.
Sports 1280.
Oh, well, we have Jeff's picks.
Replay.
Like for the NFL.
Oh, yeah, we do.
So,
8 to 10.
So
he is Coach
he
Rick
will be
Venturi
the
jumping on with us right now on Sports 1280. Coach,
he'll
that
make
playoff game against the Rams. I mean, take me back to that
game.
People
don't realize this, but that was one of the greatest offenses in the history of the game.
He might have a better record than me this year. I started off.
That greatest show on
I had a
turf
really bad
was
first
the
week.
toughest. I use the term
I think
ambient
all of
to
us
describe
were
a player
great, and
who's
we improved.
great and gives me headaches.
Well, of course you're going to improve because you're learning about the
That was
team.
the most ambient offense that I ever faced. And then, of course, Hakeem from the Rams dropped the ball.
Put any action on it?
We recovered it.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever been. I don't even know if I
I'm
was
starting to
happy
realize
at
my
that
calling
moment.
that I should
They've
be
got a
thinking
picture with me and Tom Benson. I've got it on my
No,
wall.
because
if I had any
It was
cojones, I'd
after
really
that
make
game,
some
and I look like I'm
my wife would
comatose.
just absolutely destroy me
Weekdays
if I
on
ever
Sports
lost real money.
1280 and the free iHeartRadio app. Or catch up at Sports.
The only time my wife wants to hear about fantasy sports is when I'm actually going to be winning money. Otherwise, she does not want to hear about it.
Mine doesn't want to hear about it at all.
Do you know the power of a good idea? The Latrim Corporation has grown through people and their ideas. It all started in 1949 when our founder, J.M. LaPierre, invented...
Hey, we don't have anybody coming up right now, do we?
No, not till top of 11.
All right, we're just doing audio?
Yeah, we can do Payton sound.
Okay. All right, cool.
The people of these companies have patented hundreds of new inventions used around the world. If you have good ideas and want to help create the next Latrim innovation, visit Latrim.com for a full listing of...
At baseball,
As a small business
At least
owner,
in baseball,
you're
there is
juggling
no
it all,
bench.
including customers' calls from your personal
Unless you
phone.
forget to
But with
activate
Grasshopper,
somebody.
you get a business phone number and a business phone system from our
man,
mobile
I'm
app,
even though
so
it
you can
didn't
work
matter.
smarter, not
I mean,
harder.
I had to make sure I
Grasshopper
activated
forwards
Harper
calls,
this week, 'cause if
texts,
he, like,
even
went off
transcribes
something,
voicemails. Everything you need to simplify your business
like
and stay responsive. With
monitoring,
Grasshopper, there's no long-term
everything.
contracts, and
I'm
customer
not
support
fine.
is
No, I
24/7.
can get caught.
Whether you're starting
Like I could
or
have a
growing
bad
your
ERA
business,
week and
Grasshopper
dip.
is the answer.
Trust
now,
me.
get $20 off your first month when you visit
Trip is
Grasshopper.com.
I got too many starters left.
Trip is sort of full on.
Coming back.
The uncensored talk about your teams. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Sorry, YouTube Live listeners. You get to hear all the fantasy talk. We will not talk about it on the show because hashtag nobody cares about your fantasy team. Hashtag nobody cares about your Survivor League. Hashtag.
I don't
Some
know.
people might care
It's
about
a
your
Survivor
gambling
League.
habits.
Well, it's illegal to gamble in this state on football, so I don't know who does that.
Who on planet Earth
does that?
would do such a thing?
I have no idea.
So
who does people in Vegas?
Why would we make picks against the spread on this show
They don't
instead of
even do
straight
that
up?
around here.
Exactly.
I don't know
For
what you're talking
entertainment
about.
purposes only.
Exactly. Bet a barks if you want, as Buddy used to say.
Well, you and me both have Monster Energy drinks, and Clyde thinks we're gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah,
like,
your heart's gonna
immediately.
explode out your chest, guys.
Well,
Thanks.
yesterday, Herbie had to get himself ready for the show because he knew
I know.
he was coming in.
Brickly behind me, like little specks of, I don't know, some kind of
hair gel.
Hair gel.
He was worried about his hair gel, but of course he had to come in and defend his column on the rights of NFL players.
Every time I hear
to have the anthem.
Every time I hear Herbie,
or protest using the anthem.
Every time I hear Herbie, I just want to say, Yes, drill sergeant.
I'm serious here. At one of the probably maybe the second or third practice Herbie ever covered for working for us, someone in the crowd screamed out his name because Herbie was his drill sergeant.
Really?
Like, that's how many people he has trained in the military.
Did you see what
it's pretty incredible.
One commenter put on his story yesterday? You saw that tweet about how he was under Herbie whenever he was in training? That was actually pretty neat. That was actually pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, well, look.
Well, at least nobody's going to give him any grief. Some of us in the media, we ask snarky questions and we get more than snarky answers back. I know I have a few times. But they're probably not going to. First of all, Herbie's he's probably not going to ask a snarky question. But
sometimes he can.
Yeah,
that's why we like Herbie.
But he's, he probably gets a little different feel back from.
Well, he gets feedback from the public, and some of it has not been pretty.
Yeah, but the public's a different bird.
Like Sean Payton's not going to get angry at him. You don't think?
Yeah, I think Sean Payton would probably be a little bit more.
Well, I wouldn't do it either because I want to see Herbie go drill sergeant on Sean if he tries to go after him. I don't think Sean's going to put himself in that spot. Well, Sean's got himself in a spot where they can go 2-2, and it's legitimate. And so, taking on the Dolphins, we're going to talk plenty about the game tomorrow as well, of course. And Sean Payton speaking with the media this morning, a variety of topics. Let's start off with, and honestly, I feel like I almost forgot he even plays for them. And Ndamukong Suh, one of the most powerful defensive players.
Used to be.
Dirty.
Well, dirty is probably one of the things you could describe him as. But let's hear what Sean Payton had to say about facing Ndamukong Suh.
Well, there's a handful. He's a real good football player. He's explosive. I think one of the challenges is he's extremely instinctive. So, he'll time up the cadence. I'll bet there's 5-6 snaps already this season where you can stop the film and the ball is just being snapped and he's the only one out of his stance. So he's very good that way of anticipating get off. He's powerful. I think he's got good instincts. He'll play at the tree. There'll be sometimes he's playing at the nose. But I think his power and explosion, along with his timing and instincts, make him so good.
And Sean Payton was next asked about those instincts. Where do they come from? Why is Ndamukong Suh so good in time in the snap count?
Well, there's a couple things. A, part of it is instincts. B, here's someone that is going to spend time, on that element. He's gonna get to know the quarterback's cadence. I mean, heck, we're putting microphones in both offensive guards. It's not hard. If you want to do a little digging, for the network feeds, you can pretty much get every cadence in the NFL. Now, being able to anticipate it is another thing. But I think, and then secondly, look, there's a talent element here. In other words, he's very explosive, quick out of his stance. You could be slow-footed or not so quick, anticipate the snap count, and still be just, another guy. But he's an exceptional athlete, and so that power that's making first contact is substantial. A lot of times in our league, first contact wins, and oftentimes he has first contact.
Is it?
Now, the Saints, we talked about how Zach Streep limited in practice yesterday. Teron Armstead was on the practice field doing some things, but didn't participate in team drills. We've been talking about it all week. We'd be surprised if Armstead and Streep came back this week. It would seem likely that they would come back for week 6 after the bye week and take on the Lions. But look, Ryan Ramczyk has more than held his own. Being a rookie tackle, he's flipped sides from right side to left side, and you can't discount some of the things he's done. And he popped open that hole for Alvin Kamara. Him, Unger, and Larry Warford popped open that hole. Alvin Kamara hit it, ran off for that late touchdown, and it was picture perfect. So let's hear what Sean Payton had to say about Ryan Ramczyk.
You never know with an offensive lineman, the curve. There's a lot that goes into that position, and he played on the left predominantly during his college career. Our vision for him was, getting over to the right side. The one thing I'd say is makeup and his football IQ. Those have all been things. When you're around him, I don't know that you feel like you're around a first-year player.
And it doesn't. Look, when they come back, when Armstead and Streiff come back, the fact you can have Ramczyk as a potential sixth offensive lineman and you move Pete back to guard, that offensive line looks pretty darn good when they're completely healthy.
Looks a lot better than it looked in week 1.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah, well, that's when they look better if Streiff doesn't get hurt and then Senio Calavente
I mean, the
has
second
to come
half
in.
of week 1, I
Right.
guess is what I should say.
Right.
But there's no question. But, we need to temper, and I don't want to be the negative Nelly, the Derry Downer.
Yes, you do.
But
that's usually my job, Jim. What's up with that?
There is so much hype around this team right now that we have to remember they still are who they are. So would you, and let me ask you this question, would you be shocked if they lost this game this week? Because I haven't heard one person around this town say it's even possible they'll lose this week, like they were saying in Miami last week when they played the Jets.
Can I just pull the old, nothing shocks me anymore, I'd be surprised.
What if they won last week and were 2-0? What if they beat the Jets like they were supposed to beat the Jets and they were 2-0?
Well, I think
this talk wouldn't be the same, but they're the same team, even though they have a big loser at quarterback.
Well, yes, he is a big loser. Jay Cutler, total loser. But
the biggest loser in the NFL.
But you look at going in the Carolina Panthers game. Jeff and I sat here and talked about that this was totally a winnable game for the Saints, even though they were 2-0, because look at the bottom feeders that the Dolphins, if they would have been 2-0, who they would have beaten. They would have beaten the Jets, and then they would have barely beaten the Chargers, who haven't done anything. So
well, they needed a rookie kicker to miss a field goal.
The Chargers had that happen twice.
Yeah, right.
But still, I don't think those teams are great, and I think
there are only a handful of great teams in the NFL anyway. Maybe not even.
There
a handful,
probably
maybe
wouldn't
like
be a handful,
3 or 4.
Right, exactly. So it's.
I on the AFC.
Look,
yeah.
Here's the point I'm trying to make. I do think that when they get their line back, they are going to be. It's going to make a huge difference. But they took a huge step forward in figuring out how to use their running game last week, which was. It's number 1 on the importance list right now.
Let me jump in real quick. Adrian Peterson was not on the practice field today. Injury report doesn't come out till later, but Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network saying that he tweaked his knee, and they're saying it's kind of a veteran rest, but he tweaked his knee. It doesn't sound serious. So
it sounds like regular Adrian Peterson.
Possibly.
But that might not be the worst thing in the world. And look, I love AP. I think that AP is...
I don't love him.
We know.
I don't love him.
Okay.
Yeah,
you
tell us something we don't know.
I'm talking about as a football player.
Okay. Well, then he's okay.
And whenever I say those sorts of things, I mean as a football player, unless I say otherwise. But
okay.
As far as a football player goes, I think he's a Hall of Famer, and it's fantastic that. But for this football team, I'm not sure why they made this move in the first place. I've said it before. It does, But Mark Ingram is the best back on this team. He always has been. He needs to get the ball more, and if AP is out, then I think that might help the coaching staff realize they have to go with number 1 and give him the rock 18, 20 times a game. Like, when they do, they win.
Well, I think
they win.
We're going to go to break here, and we'll hear some more Sean Payton sound coming back. But I think Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, you could throw them the ball, and they can run the ball, and it's more diverse with those two guys. I think at some point, that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah,
so
there's no question.
Let's hear from Sean Payton again when we get back on Jay Ajayi, Dolphins running back, on P.J. Williams, on the practice fields, and on the anthem protests, what could be next for the Saints. So,
can't wait to make picks. Can't wait.
Oh, Clyde's going to jump in. He's already giggling with joy over there. So come on back, Sports1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Jim Derry in for the Duncan. Clyde's here. I'm here. We're all Duncan. Holder.
Enjoy wines from around the world.
If they would have beat the Dolphins, you wouldn't hear, oh my gosh, it's a slam dunk win. I mean, if the Dolphins would have beat the Jets, it wouldn't have been a slam dunk.
No, nobody would be talking the way that they're talking.
It would be like, all right, it's a winnable game.
It's
you know,
a
they're
winnable
2-0.
Exactly. I would have picked it
short 2-minute break.
same way.
Okay,
Presented
cool.
by Southern Glazers, WGNO, and NOLA.38.
Hi, this is Dave from the Foo Fighters.
I'm not joking.
iHeartRadio
Cutler's
music you should
probably.
know from the Foo Fighters.
I don't know if he's my least favorite player ever,
We needed
but
to
he's
follow
certainly in the
these
top
little
5
phases that have
without
gone on.
question.
I can't wait till he gets on TV.
If he was,
I cannot
We've just
wait
sort of
till he's doing
played over
TV
on the
because
sideline
that same
and done our thing.
lackadaisical.
he just
I
doesn't.
don't care.
He doesn't seem like he
Foo
doesn't
Fighters'
care about
new album,
anything.
Conquer
No,
and Gold,
nothing.
on iHeartRadio All
He
Access.
basically said his
We just
wife
do
made
our
him
thing,
go.
you know?
Yeah,
Sponsored
because
by
she's not
RCA
crazy
Records.
either.
Yeah,
Even though
boggles
she's
the
crazy
mind.
in reality.
Any given Sunday. It's like any given Sunday. When the wife makes Quaid go back.
Yeah.
And I'll probably say this on the air at some point, but Jay Cutler for $10 million or Colin Kaepernick for probably $2 million.
2 million.
I'd take Kaepernick. What? $1 million.
Patchwork anyway.
Right.
You're not going to win anything anyway without your quarterback. So why don't you just go get Kaepernick and see what happens? At least you don't know what's going to happen with Kaepernick.
And hopefully you won't
With
have
Cutler, you know you're going to lose.
Yeah, and one of those guys probably won't come out and say, "Oh yeah, well you know, quarterbacks don't need to be in the best physical shape."
That's glorious.
WGNO TV, ABC,
That's
and
so
NOLA
glorious.
38, the CW. Join us Saturday, November
This league is
11th
stupid.
at Audubon Aquarium
Just
Plaza.
like Jay Cutler with a
Tickets on
cigarette
sale
naked.
now for only $49.
Oh my God.
So get your tickets today.
I saw the
Check me-
cigarette.
check
I've
me
never
out
seen
naked on
the
the
naked
porch.
one. I've missed that one. Thank
Buy your
God.
tickets today
I heard y'all talking about it. I'm like, when you said it, I'm like, ooh, I didn't see that. Thank God.
I'm guessing Kristen Cavallari took that photo.
15 seconds.
Can you feel this, Helen?
I was always an Lauren Conrad guy anyway when it came to the Laguna Beach.
Laguna Beach, the hills, bro.
No doubt. We were, when we went to LA, we were pretty close to going to Laguna. Should have went.
Jenny. This is Duncan Holder on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
I will say the YouTube live crowd gets some interesting commentary.
I need to click back on it.
I think they get some interesting
Right now they're not happy
commentary.
with Larry.
Are they
Why
still
are they not
talking
happy
about,
with me?
Are they still talking about your bangs?
What did I
Yeah,
do?
they are, but they're just, well, most folks, if I can just read a couple.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, that's the point, right?
Okay, so
What did I do
let's
this
see.
time? Speaking of the mic, Clyde, just remember.
Yes, Mike Hobbs. At some point this season, we're going to need Larry to put those bangs on the line, LOL. And then Jim comes back with, he would never bet his bangs. What would he have to flip over the top of his visor? So, of course, he's bringing it in.
I've
So that
already bet
everything-
my bangs. Let's stop.
I know.
I've already bet my bangs. I've already bet, Jeff, if the Saints, what was it? If they go 10-6, we will go to our bar and shave my head in the marinade.
Oh, I got to be there for that.
Yeah,
I will
But
cut
they're
my
not going
hair
10 and
Yeah,
6.
so
into
that's
a
why you
mullet.
need to root for the Saints, just to see that, just to get to 10 wins, man.
It's either shaved
That's why I
head,
need to root for the Saints?
Yes.
shaved head or cut my hair into a mullet. Like, it's one or the other.
Ooh.
And y'all can make the pick, because I'm not getting a haircut till then.
Wait, we can make the pick?
Whatever. It's fine.
Shaved hair or mullet?
Yes.
All I need to know is
I'm
where
going
y'all
shaved
taking
head
me for
10 times out
dinner.
of 10.
Why not
for
mullet?
the picks.
It's basically a shaved top of the head, just leaving the
Why don't you wear some Z Cavaricci, too?
I was a Jabot kind of guy.
Oh, my goodness.
I was a Jabot kind of guy, man.
You would be.
Jabot, bro.
Absolutely. I had all the Jabot shorts.
FUBU.
I'm assuming Sean Payton probably just wears Wranglers or something. I don't know. But let's go back to hear what he has to say. Of course, they're taking on the Dolphins. And Jay Ajayi, look, he's their stud running back, but injured. He didn't practice yesterday. Sounds like he's going to play, but he's certainly not 100%. But the Saints are certainly paying attention. So let's hear what Sean Payton had to say about Dolphins running back Jay Ajayi.
Well, he's strong with good balance. I think he's elusive. You know, there's a physical style in how we run.
Yeah, we got 5 minutes left, guys.
Very noticeable. You know, periodically you come across runners like this, and I think it forces you to play with the correct pad level, but B, you know, to get the 11 defenders to the ball, and he's tough. He's tough to take down, tough in space. You know, he's got that physicality to him where he can easily break a tackle or embarrass a tackler. You know, like a lot of great backs, if he's got some clean air at the beginning of the run, it's generally going to be a positive play, and so the key is to try to prevent that from happening.
curious to see how healthy Ajayi really is. That should be because we've talked about Jay Cutler. None of us have any confidence in Jay Cutler to get it done, and I don't know if Jarvis Landry or Kenny Stills or Devontae Parker have any confidence in him. And look, the Saints secondary obviously played a little better last week against a guy who likes to hold on to the ball a long time, Cam Newton, specifically P.J. Williams. Look, P.J. Williams made a great play on the ball, read that route, and picked off Cam Newton. And that was really the snowball effect where the Saints were able to get going. Let's hear what Sean Payton had to say about P.J. Williams maybe overcoming some struggles with his eyes in the first couple of weeks and maybe turning around in week 3 and now going into week 4.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things that comes up a lot when playing man coverage is just that eye discipline and constantly practicing it and understanding it. And while a game is going on and you're covering someone, your eyes can wander, and it's not difficult for that to happen. So, but he played much better last week.
No doubt he played better last week. And then you had what Ken Crawley did. Their secondary is a little better. Marshawn Lattimore sounds like he's going to be back, fully practiced yesterday with a concussion. So he's out of, I would say, the concussion protocol. So that's good news, obviously.
Yeah, but still, it all comes down, I mean, as well as they played, that's great. But it comes down to the front line. And
no doubt.
If they put pressure on Cutler, they're going to force him into making dumb throws. You'd think a guy that went to Vanderbilt would be a little bit smarter than he is.
I mean, just bagging on Jay Cutler.
Wow.
Oh, this is going to happen the rest of the day today and all day tomorrow.
Takes.
By seriously. But it really does. If the front line can play like they played last week, but look, going back to the P.J. Williams, he really did have great vision. But if you look, you wonder what Cam Newton was looking at, because he broke on it pretty quickly and he threw it anyway. And it was really a great play by P.J. Williams, but a really poor throw, because at no point was that going to be a complete pass.
Well, Cam Newton, I will say this. Look, I'm going to sound like Debbie Downer. Look, Ken Crawley, I think, was the second highest rated cornerback by Pro Football Focus of the entire NFL last week.
Yeah, he played fantastic.
Now, here's the thing. Cam Newton missed some throws, and Ken Crawley was on coverage, too. So if you complete some of those, his rating's not as high.
But that goes to how well the front – I mean, always, even the best quarterbacks that have bad days, when you look at their bad days, how many times were they pressured? How many times were they sacked or hurried, whatever you want to call it? But that's what it comes down to. And it comes down – and it always has, especially for this team, with the defensive backfield that they have. And they've got to be able to put pressure on every quarterback they play to have any kind of chance at, you having a mullet. They're going to have to pressure the quarterback. And what I saw last week shows me that they can, because Carolina's got a pretty good offensive line.
I've got some good stats that's going to be coming out in my 1st and 10 column either later today or early in the morning. We'll talk about them tomorrow on the show about the pressure that they did to Cam Newton. And we know Jay Cutler is one to be a statue and one to not get rid of the football quickly. So it could be something where we see there.
Real quick, Mike Hobbs on YouTube says that you can cut the bangs, turn them into extensions, and then glue them in the back. Instant mullet.
But my hair will be long enough by then, so we'll be able to do that. So hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 is on the way. Andrew Lopez to talk LSU coming up next. Julia O'Donoghue, our political reporter, to talk about Saints and Anthem. We'll see what happens there. College picks at 11:30, so come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Clyde, Jim Derry, Larry Holder. We're Duncan Holder today.
The Duncan Mullet Show.
But no, against the Blitz.
This is Joey Logano, driver of NASCAR number 22,
73 yards, 2 picks,
and I want to
sacks,
talk to you about
quarterback
air.
rating of 30.7.
That is a good.
It makes a huge difference to your tires.
But now, last week, Drew Brees against the Blitz, 8 of 9, 149, a touchdown, 155.
So be tire smart and do your part. Check tire pressures once a month and before every long journey.
And I understood why they didn't blitz.
Visit BTiresmart.org. A message from the Rubber Manufacturers Association.
They did. 8 of 9, 142 yards, 118.75 rating.
They didn't listen very much.
They weren't effective.
They
were not effective. That's because there was nobody got there.
2017 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Coldplay, Pink, DJ Khaled, Thomas Rhett, The Weeknd, and more.
Maybe they were playing for Carolina. I'll appreciate
Catch our iHeartRadio Music Festival TV special Wednesday and Thursday night, October 4th and 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on the CW.
WODT, WNOE, FM, HD2, New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio
There you go.
app. Search Sports
There's between the Hall of Famer and
Breeze. They only
if your linebackers don't play fantastic.
And I only calculate this.
Fox Sports trending.
Yeah, I only calculate
the FBI's investigation into college basketball's recruiting continues to grow. Nike's Elite Youth Basketball League has now been subpoenaed, and the Miami basketball program has confirmed they're under investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice. Auburn has now hired attorneys to review their situation internally. And, of course, the investigations have already cost head coach Rick Pitino and AD Tom Jurich their jobs at Louisville. Coming up this hour, we have Major League Baseball with Cleveland hosting Minnesota in a battle of teams who have now both clinched postseason berths. Carlos Carrasco gets the start for the Tribe, while the Twins counter with Irvin Santana. One wild card spot remains in the National League, where Colorado leads Milwaukee by 2.5 and St. Louis by 3.5. And the President's Cup gets underway today with alternate shot. It all starts at 1 o'clock Eastern. I'm Ralph Irvin.
We are Buckmore! Everyone does it in the living room, the garage, at the kitchen table. Everyone you know. Your kid's teacher, the neighbor, the coffee guy. Hey, you're doing it right now. I'm talking about listening to radio. Radio is huge. And radio ads like this connect with 93% of Americans a week. That's bigger than TV, Facebook, and Google. So if you're a marketer, with radio, you reach more of who you want. More boomers, more Gen Xers, even more millennials. So get to iHeartMedia.com for the one place everyone is. AM/FM radio. Come on, everyone's doing it.
Tonight, the must-see comedy phenomenon is back.
We should just be what we've always been.
A sad, middle-aged lady. And Grace.
16-time Emmy winner, Will and Grace.
Not all gays think alike. Oh, I forgot to ask, did you see Ryan Lochte get attacked on Dancing with the Stars?
The return of Will and Grace, part of a new night of comedies. Superstore and The Good Place, followed by Will and Grace and great news. Tonight on NBC.
The Autism Society of Greater New Orleans presents the Stay Connected Talent Show. It's October 14th at the UNO Grand Ballroom. Proceeds benefit the Autism Society and Down Syndrome Association. Go to asgno.org. Bike MS is October 7th and 8th. It's a 2-day bike ride from Hammond to Macomb and back to raise funds and awareness for multiple sclerosis. Go to nationalmssociety.org. A message from Sports 1280 Communities, helping to make a difference in New Orleans.
AutoZone presents the oil change. Regular oil changes protect your engine from wear and tear, helping your car roll well beyond the 100,000-mile mark. Right now, get any 5 quarts of Valium Premium Conventional Oil and an STP filter for $24.99, or an extended life filter for $2 more. So visit your local AutoZone. With over 5,000 locations, the right supplies and good advice are just around the corner. Let's get you what you need. See store for restrictions and details.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Our sold-out 2017 iHeartRadio Music Festival. 2 nights, 1 stage, over 20 of the biggest artists on the planet. Celebrated with iHeartRadio fans from around the world for music's holy grail. Our sold-out 2017 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Coldplay, Pink, DJ Khaled, Thomas Rhett, The Weeknd, and more.
Okay.
It's already been iHeartRadio Music Festival TV special Wednesday and Thursday night, October 4th and 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific. On
Yeah,
the
I get told.
CW.
I've been told that for 3 years.
Never give in.
I have a little probably control of my world and media.
Yeah,
that's absolutely true.
Winston Churchill's immortal
Okay,
words
next week,
stirred an
what?
entire country in the face of certain defeat. Today, these words give each of us the courage to reach for our own victories.
Never give in. Never give in. Never, never, never.
Commitment. Pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
I've always wanted
Next
a neighbor
week we
just
have
like you. I
I've always wanted to live.
Oh, you don't need to worry about Thursday game, sure. Oh, Friday we have Carl McDonald 35. Is that going?
Okay, sweet. Oh, dude.
Would you be mine?
Yeah.
Could you be mine?
Yeah, that's a pretty big game. We have really nothing but big
Mr.
Rogers games,
passed
along friendship in his neighborhood.
Hey, we're getting Andrew Lopez here. You got his number?
Andrew
Piss
Walker,
off,
Eric.
Larry Holder. I'm not talking to you.
Values.com.
Jeez.
Yes, we haven't.
I'm the only one who's loving our people. I mean, you got Jim and Clyde over here like damn jackals attacking everyone.
I'm
That's
telling
not
you, man.
Just wait.
Just
wait.
Just wait. Great.
Just because the Saints are in London doesn't mean you get to act like hooligans. Bunch of soccer hooligans.
Exactly.
Oh, I mean, I live my life as a hooligan.
Program called the Fresh Start Initiative. And
Hooligan, I didn't hear what Jeff said about soccer, but
I've got hooliganitis.
One call starts the process to stop
now
the
that I'm a
demand
huge
letters,
soccer dude, I'm totally a soccer hooligan
and
now.
stop that army of
Wow, this is
yell and
targeting
get
you.
drunk.
But
Probably
don't
need a
delay.
headset.
It's important to act now while you still have options.
I need like a way long cord.
Better
I gotta go get
All right, 20 seconds.
Involved over $500 million of
My
tax
last
debt for their
Saturday
clients.
game of
Get
the
your life back. Call now for your free consultation.
Call 800-798-2477. That's 800-798-2477. 800-798-2470.
All right, here we go.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hour number 2 of Dunc and Holder. Larry Holder, Jim Derry sitting in for the Dunc. Got Clyde here on a Thursday. Clyde's time to shine coming up here in about a half hour. But joining us right here on the show, switching gears, LSU taking on Troy. 6 o'clock kick up at Tiger Stadium on Saturday night. Andrew Lopez covers LSU for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Lopes, please pray for me. I'm dealing with Jim
How about
Derry.
them Holy Cross Tigers?
I'm dealing with Clyde. It's a 3-ring circus.
Lopez already knows about me.
Yeah, I know. Why do you think I mentioned you?
I'm just
bad
concerned
news.
about any show on the air that gives Clyde a time to shine. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Clyde has taken his time to shine since he boasts plus 10 on the picks?
Plus 10, 25 and 15.
Yeah,
25 and 15 against the spread in college picks. I mean, why is this guy working here? Go to Vegas.
He cheats, Lopes.
Great point.
I'm going to call you on Saturday, Clyde. We're going to talk. Actually, we're going to talk at the game. We'll just me and Clyde will have a conversation.
Why do you want to talk to him? What are you going to do with those picks?
I'm just going to place some wagers for fun on some sites.
They have sites where you can place wagers for fun?
Yeah, it's like the Yahoo pick. Come on, man. Get with it. Derry, you and your degenerate gambling insinuations over here.
Well, he went to Holy Cross.
So what? You went to Shaw.
Right. I'm from the West Bank. We don't do stuff like that on the West Bank.
Let's talk LSU.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, Lopes, LSU, Troy. Look, I'm sure it has been a hairy week up at LSU after the non-convincing win. LSU beating Syracuse. Now they go up against Troy, and I'm sure. Look, all I know is as of last night. Am I correct in saying that Ed Orgeron had his weekly call-in show, and we've already gotten they had technical difficulties, and so they couldn't take calls from fans right now?
Yeah, and Chris Blair started the show off with that of if this isn't a conspiracy theory of whatever it was, the audio wasn't working. The audio on the app wasn't working as well for anybody who was listening online. So it was kind of a screwy week. It was just kind of the way the things went against Syracuse when some things didn't seem to work. It was kind of fitting that on the radio show some things just didn't seem to work the way they wanted it to.
No, absolutely not. And the one thing that you've always heard, if you've got two quarterbacks, you've got no quarterbacks, and that's going to be the storyline certainly going forward. I'm assuming Danny Etling's going to start against Troy. I'm assuming Miles Brennan is going to play at some point against Troy. What's your perspective on this whole situation?
It's, some people have called it a two-quarterback system. I don't necessarily think that's the case. Usually in a two-quarterback system, you expect that the rest of the season or the rest of the set of games. I think what this is just they want to get Miles Brennan live action. They want to get Miles Brennan live reps in games where it matters. And at the time that they put him in the Syracuse game, it was 21-10. He lead the touchdown drive, and LSU looked to be in control and could have run away with that game. And then, of course, they didn't. If Miles Brennan doesn't throw the interception when it's 28-19, which allows Syracuse to cut it to 28-26, Ogeron said on his radio show last night, he probably would have kept Miles Brennan in the game a little bit longer. So I think you're going to see a similar setup this week where Danny will start, Danny will get LSU a lead, and then you're going to see Miles Brennan. They want Miles Brennan to be ready in case Danny Etling gets hurt. They know they don't have a lot of experience behind him, so it's that's what I think it is, and I don't think once you get to Florida next week that you're going to see a system where Miles Brennan is still going to be playing. I don't think Miles Brennan plays against an Alabama this year, for instance. So this is just to get him experience in these games.
Lopes, what's going on with Darius Geis? We know he's banged up a little bit, and how is he looking? And is there any concern with the offensive line really not being able to open up anything for him?
Well, I don't think that's going to be a concern for the offensive line this week, simply because I don't see Darius Geis playing at all. He didn't practice at all this week that we have seen. Now, granted, he didn't practice at all last week, and then comes back on Thursday, practices, and plays in a limited role. I don't expect to see him at all against Troy. But as far as the offensive line goes, they've started to make some changes. They're trying to do some things schematically that are going to fix issues, and I think that's where some of those problems come in. It is schematics. It is a scheme problem, and I think you're starting to see them figure out ways to fix those issues. I think you're going to see maybe a tight end stay in more. You're going to see some more things like that, and hopefully that can start to open up things for Darrell Williams this week as the Tigers try to get this rushing game going.
Andrew Lopez covers LSU for NOLA.com and Times Pick. You can join us right here on Dunc and Holder. Jim Derry filling in for Jeff Duncan, who is across the pond in London. Rashard Lawrence, I remember when he went out originally, it wasn't originally thought of as a big injury, and I feel like that mindset has probably changed given what we've seen from this defensive front. What's the latest on him, and is my perspective right? Is this a bigger injury loss than we perceived originally?
Well, it's a bigger injury loss in the sense that it affects their depth considerably. When Rashard Lawrence was out against Chattanooga, it was okay, but then Ed Alexander went out, who is your backup nose guard, and without him, you really have to do some shuffling. You try moving Glenn Gilmore, your normal nose tackle, out to end. Ed gets hurt and it kind of throws everything off. Ed Alexander dealing with an ankle sprain, and then in the game against Syracuse, he injures the other ankle. So that was where things started to get a little dicey. Rashard Lawrence, because of how smart he is, he changes everything on that defensive line, and he is so strong, he's so smart. He has been their best player on defense, and that's with Arden Key, and that's with Devin White, the way that those two have been playing. Devin obviously leading him in tackles, and Arden being who Arden is. So they're going to miss Rashard in games where they don't have him. And I think, again, I don't know if I see him this week, and I think the plan is to get him ready for Florida next week.
Lopes, how much do they, during a week like this, how much are they already preparing for Florida? And I know you don't want to overlook a Troy team that has some talent, but how much do they start looking forward to Florida and putting some things in for next week?
Coaching-wise, I think they're absolutely turning that page already and starting to look towards what Florida is going to do and things like that. Now, they're not going to say anything either to the players, and when they talk to the players, they're going to make sure that they stay in line and stay on board with this is Troy week, it's Troy week, it's Troy week. So But I think as a coach, it's natural. You're looking ahead to the SEC opponent where really, and if everybody remembers, this should be an LSU home game coming up against against Florida next week. But you have to give that back because of the situation last year with the hurricane and rescheduling that game. So you're absolutely looking forward to that because that's a big game for you that you want to win if you're LSU.
Andrew Lopez covers LSU for NOLA.com and Times-Picayune. Joining us right here on Duncan Holder. Last week we saw a little bit of an offensive lift once you got some younger, taller receivers in there. Do you think that maybe they start implementing these guys in a little bit more for Troy? And do you anticipate seeing some jumbling at wide receiver when you hit Florida?
I think what you're going to see is in a Matt Canada system, you want to trust multiple guys. Obviously, you trust the Russell Gage, Derek Dillons of the world for your jet sweeps and things like that. And obviously, you already have DJ Shark. DJ Shark is your guy at wide receiver. But some of these younger guys, Stephen Sullivan, Drake Davis, and has even talked about D. Anderson, who has yet to play this year. He was hurt for a bit. Ogeron, he was possibly one of those guys that was suspended, didn't travel for the first game. So he's dealt with a lot of different things, but O has mentioned him twice this week in press conference of trying to get him ready for this game. So it's going to be interesting to see how he starts to develop those guys into this system. And I think by the time you get to Florida, you definitely want to see a little bit more of who can help you, and you're starting to figure that out as the season goes along.
One more and we'll let you run, Lopes. LSU Troy. LSU, of course, is a big favorite. Clyde, what are they, a 19-point favorite?
20.5 right now.
20.5-point favorite. They were that much of a favorite against Syracuse, and it was certainly tighter than that. Does Troy present a legitimate threat to LSU this week?
I think they do. You look at the last two times that Troy has played LSU. In 2004, under Nick Saban, it was a 24-20 game. And then in a game a lot of LSU fans remember, Troy, the last time they came in here in 2008, was up 31-3 on LSU in the third quarter. Jordan Jefferson gets it going with a late touchdown in the third, and then LSU scores 30 in the fourth to take a 40-31 victory. Troy has played this team great, or tough in recent years. Last year, they played Clemson tough, the eventual national champion. They're not going to go away. They get up for these big games, and if LSU is caught sleeping, this one could come back and bite them.
You think that they just see those jerseys from the guys from Alabama and start having flashbacks?
I hope not. I don't think anybody on this team was really paying attention to it, but maybe some of the fans might start feeling that way.
Andrew Lopez covers LSU for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Follow him on Twitter at @Andrew_Lopez. Hey, Lopes, appreciate the time, and I am willing to guarantee we'll talk to you next week. LSU Florida week should be an interesting week on numerous fronts. Appreciate the time, Lopes.
No problem.
All right, coming up next here on the show, let's get political. Everyone loves that.
You're so excited.
Let's get political. Let's talk Saints.
The LHSAA has just released a statement.
Another one?
A statement on the protest and how they're going to handle it.
Wow. So we've gotten even to the high school level. But let's keep it with the Saints level. Obviously, many local and statewide politicians chiming in on the Saints' protest for the anthem. And so we will talk with our political reporter, Julia O'Donoghue, is going to join us here. I'm sure she never thought she'd be on a sports show, and we probably never thought she'd be one of our guests on our show, but it's timely. People are talking about it, so you're going to get one more segment of it here. Coming up, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Clyde's here, Jim Darien for the Dunc, and I'm the Holder.
Join Corey Johnson on The Neutral Ground.
Is the sky falling
they put out now?
already for local football
It basically
fans?
says nothing.
4 till 6.
I don't know which team looks
Hey,
worse.
Dave.
Did you see what
Sports 1280.
schools from Louisiana
When we come back, can we just play
Comes from and what's
Payton's soundbite on the anthem?
certified. Our dietitian
Yeah.
Like just play it coming back. I don't need to intro it.
Dining out.
All right.
Cool. Okay.
Look for us.
Thanks for keeping us on the straight and narrow, Dave.
Dave has got to be the cop.
Located in Harahan, Intralox, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralox technology are transforming
They ought to be able to hear
in
Dave on
manufacturing
YouTube.
facilities
No, they can
around
hear
the
Dave.
world.
Oh, they can hear
Intralox
Dave
is a
on YouTube.
dynamic
Okay, good.
global
That's why we have to
company
make
now
sure to tell
hiring
Dave,
in production,
please remember,
warehousing,
don't
shipping,
curse.
and more. If you want to be part of
What the bleep?
I know.
visit Latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Would we get flagged?
Our sold out
Well,
2017.
I think you can curse on YouTube.
Actually, YouTube. Well, here's the thing, though.
Can you
Here's
say
what
filth,
YouTube-
foreign filth on YouTube?
You can say diddly poop.
Diddly poop.
Fiddlesticks. I love fiddlesticks.
That's the name of our
Sold out
reindeer
2017
that comes in every Christmas.
DJ Khaled, Thomas Rhett. The Weeknd.
She named him.
There's actually a way that YouTube now talks about how you monetize your videos. If your videos are
Thursday night,
of
October 4th and 5th
subjectionable
at 8 p.m.
nature,
Eastern and Pacific on the CW.
they actually won't
Imagine
put
a
as
new
many
vegan
ads
taco
on your
truck,
videos
a
as they will
century-old
for other
accounting
videos.
firm.
Oh, well, then
and
it
the
must
only
be
friendly
objectionable.
emporium in London.
So-
What do they all have in common?
Monetarily,
money.
when we monetize these videos, we
with
want
your
as many ads
cursing,
on it as
though. Just
possible.
call
We don't get
people
the money for it,
rooster
do we?
lollipops.
Right. I
Customized
know.
business cards,
YouTube does.
postcards, and even
I just go back to
Right,
fiddlesticks
$10.
with
You heard
Caddyshack.
that right. $10
Or
or
rat
less gets you
farts.
started.
I don't even know what.
Promote what makes
All right, coming back to
Farts.
today at Vistaprint.com. Just
Wow.
use promo code Radio10. That's
Rat
Vistaprint.com.
farts!
Promo code Radio10.
Should have yelled too.
This is Duncan Holder on Sports 1280, New
Orleans.
Orleans.
Listen, it's a good question. It's a fair question. I'm not aware of, the specifics at home with, the groups that are for or against. I'm sure as a team and as an organization here, we'll have a more organized plan. Last week was very, I guess you'd say, last minute in regards to, we had traveled to Carolina. The president's speech came out. We were in team meetings the next morning. We're up eating pregame meal, and so I'm sure we'll have a chance at some point to visit.
That's Sean Payton on what could be the Saints' latest potential protest of the national anthem, as they did in Charlotte after, of course, President Donald Trump spoke very disparagingly about the NFL. And joining us right here on Duncan Holder, I can honestly say, Julia, I never thought I'd be reaching out to you as a guest for Duncan Holder. I'm assuming you probably never figured you'd be on the show, but it all intertwines. So Julia O'Donoghue, our political reporter here at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Julia, appreciate you jumping on the show and what's just already otherwise a very busy day with Steve Scalise heading back into Congress. So,
yeah.
but
I'm actually someone else is covering that, but I certainly tuned in to watch. He
Yeah.
looks good. He
Yeah.
looks really good.
Absolutely. So that's of political positive notes, that's a good thing. But of course we're having you on because many politicians across the state, whether it's locally or in otherwise across the state, have reacted to the Saints protesting, sitting down for the national anthem up in Carolina, and that may be the same in London. That's a big hot topic over with the players and with Sean Payton right now. Just kind of give us a summary of who's saying what, and we'll kind of go through what the significance of each protest through politicians throughout the state.
Sure. So first, let me devote a couple of seconds to why why the state even has a say in this.
Sure.
The Bensons and the Saints have an agreement about certain benefits that the state and Mr. Benson have an agreement about certain benefits that the Saints and the Pelicans receive, and in fact, he sort of receives, or the organization sort of receives, that are part of the reason I think many people believe that he has kept the teams here. That's not unusual. There are lots of cities that give their professional sports teams tax breaks and other incentives
32
to
of them.
either move to their city. Yeah.
32 of them. Yeah.
Right. Or other sort of fringe benefits. There's been a lot written about the Atlanta Braves for example, in their new facility in Georgia. But basically, on Monday, after the players sat during the game on Sunday, a lawmaker from St. Francisville, which is north of Baton Rouge, near Angola, if anyone's ever been to the prison, came out and said he wanted the state to pull its benefits from the Saints and from Mr. Benson because he was upset about the protests. And this is not a new issue, kind of a perennial issue. People from mostly North Louisiana usually kind of bring this up frequently about how they're upset that the Saints get all these, tax breaks and other benefits. And usually it's framed as, and what have you done for Shreveport, right? Like, why aren't we trying to do those types of things to bring economic development to other parts of the state? So it's not a new issue. I think Representative Havard was bringing it up because he's probably been irritated that we give money and incentives to Mr. Benson for years, and this just, he got angry about the protest, and so he kind of like used that, anger to bring attention to something he already doesn't like.
Right. And Julia. Go ahead. Sorry.
So then a couple of different things happened. Representative Havard was joined by one other legislator. The legislative leadership outside of Senate President Alario hasn't really said much about whether they agree with Representative Havard or not. But the governor and Senator Alario, who represents West Wheato, have been pretty clear that they don't think that the state could get out of its agreement with the Saints, even if the legislators wanted to. They've signed a contract. They can't just change the terms of the contract. And I would say that appears to be the case. This has come up in other arenas too. In 2016, we changed the state sales tax a lot, and we changed a lot of tax breaks around the sales tax. And a lot of organizations got their sales tax exemption taken away, but the Saints did not. And the explanation at that time was, well, we have this contract with the Saints, and we've told them that we're going to give them this tax break, and if we're in breach of contract, that gives Mr. Benson a opportunity to move if he wants. I don't know. I would say it seems like the people who are most in the know don't think that there's much that the state could do just because they're upset about this situation. I would also say that the governor has brought up the issue of the First Amendment. He thinks that the state would be in a bad position if the government was seen to be punishing the Saints due to players expressing themselves. He thinks that they would run afoul of the Constitution. Not everyone feels that way, but he does. So,
Julia O'Donoghue, our political reporter here at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, joining us right here on Duncan. Holder, you brought up the governor. Of course, John Bell Edwards had some things to say about it, predictably, and he said he's reached out to the team. And what else do you know of what he's been saying, or what the conversations were with the team, or I'm assuming he would probably want them to go a different route if they could.
Yeah, so the governor is and grandfather were sheriffs in Tangipahoa Parish. His brother is the current sheriff in Tangipahoa Parish. I say all that by, I give all that context by way of saying he has made it very clear that he doesn't really think kneeling during the national anthem is like the way to go about protesting social inequality. He has said he understands and he thinks that the players have some legitimate concerns that they are trying to raise awareness around, but that he doesn't think this is a good way to go about it, and he doesn't agree with anyone not standing for the national anthem. What he has said, I asked him if he had talked to the Saints. He said he had, and then he said he wasn't really going to tell us what they talked about. What he has said, which is interesting, is that, he thinks that other protests are appropriate, and he's pointed to the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones in terms of what he might think is a more appropriate form of protest. So the Cowboys and Jerry Jones took a knee before the national anthem played on Monday night, and then my understanding is stood up for the national anthem. And the governor has said he finds that to be a much more appropriate way to go about kind of airing your grievances, and has pointed out that the Cowboys got a lot of attention for that demonstration. I think a lot of you guys would know better than me. I think some of the attention had to do with Jerry Jones being involved.
Well, Jerry Jones specifically taking a knee because some owners were involved. Right. None of them took a knee. They did the locked arms under the owner from Jacksonville, right, and then Arthur Blank and some other owners.
Right. So the governor has sort of said he thinks that would be a more effective way of protesting, and that he's been talking to the Saints about this situation. That's kind of all we know at this point. It's interesting because the governor is a Democrat, and two of his major kind of constituencies are the African American community and also law enforcement and veterans, because he is a veteran himself. So politically, he's having to weave a lot of things together, because certainly some elected officials who are black have reacted pretty strongly to some of the calls to boycott the Saints or pull funding from the Saints. They are pretty unhappy that that is happening because of what the players did on Sunday.
Julia, Jim Derry. I'm sorry, Jim Derry here. I want to ask you, what kind of sense do you get? The Louisiana politicians coming out about this, do you think that they really mean what they're saying, or are they just trying to, appease their base, I guess?
I think that the politicians who came out about this, let me backtrack. I think the two legislators who have publicly said, I want to look at the Saints deal, are genuine about it. They are, particularly Kenny Havard, is someone who has been hammering sort of a anti-corporate, big business gets too much from the state kind of message for a while, and I think that this is in line with that. I can't speak for Attorney General Jeff Landry. Would he be happy if he has also said he wants the Saints deal reexamined? Would he be happy if the Saints, left Louisiana? I don't know. But to your point, it is true that almost every politician who comes out and says that they are unhappy with the Saints, and I guess we should get to Billy Nungesser at some point, knows that not much is going to happen with the deal. And right. The big reason for that is most lawmakers don't want anything to happen with the deal. They don't want anything to threaten the Saints or the Saints to be moved.
Or the chance at having another Super Bowl.
Right. And the most powerful legislator in the State House, John Alario, is probably the Saints and the Pelicans' best ally. And he has a tremendous amount of control. I'm sure your listeners know the old Hornets practice facility in West Wego is located there and is named after John Hilario's father. That's not a coincidence. That didn't just happen,
Right.
He's never going to let anything happen to the deal, and I don't think there are enough lawmakers who would want it to happen anyways. But he specifically, nothing's going to happen to the deal. So while I think some of the lawmakers are genuine, I think that they also know that nothing really is going to happen on this front. I think. I think they know nothing's going to change because of where the Senate leadership is on this. I think the other side of this is Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser has said he's boycotting games and NFL events.
Right.
And that actually is the most significant thing that's happened from a politician, in my opinion, because he's in charge of tourism and he's instrumental in trying to attract the Super Bowl, trying to attract the NBA All-Star Game, trying to attract, NCAA events. And to the extent that, the NFL or the NBA or any of those people associate Louisiana with Billy Nungesser and have a bad association, that really could have an impact on the state. I think that that's more significant because he's supposed to be our ambassador that tries to attract these major sporting events to New Orleans, which not only is good for the city, but there's a pretty compelling argument is very, very good for the state, too.
Julia Donahue covers the political scene for us up at NOLA.com and at Times-Picayune. Hey, Julia, appreciate the time, appreciate the insight. And who knows? We may talk every week at this rate, at the way things are going on.
I know. Well, I would say, my hunch is that, I know you guys are covering football, but my hunch is when the NBA starts playing games, this stuff is going to...
Oh, it's not going away.
I don't think they're going to sit quietly by.
Oh, this isn't going anyway anytime soon. No time soon.
No.
There you go. Hey, Julia, appreciate the time and keep up the good work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Julia.
All right. Thanks.
All right, that's Julia Donahue, our political reporter here at NOLA.com and at Times-Picayune. And look, I do agree that Billy Nungesser, his protests, and he's in London and he's not going to the game, this, that, and the other.
And he's basically the head of the tourism.
His job is to get people to come to the state.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I'm pretty sure Steve Perry and those folks.
We don't want a Super Bowl here. They don't need $300-400 million.
Here's my thing. I don't know how much Billy Nungesser actually does with the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation to get in a Super Bowl here, and I don't think he has any pull with any NFL owners. So
just think of all the buffets he'd miss out on.
Oh my gosh!
If the Super Bowl didn't come.
That's Jim Derry making that comment here. I'm Larry Holder. I'm just saying.
He's from the West Bank too. We can dog each other.
I'm just saying he doesn't have as much influence. You're saying whatever you just said. Let's take a quick break here. Let's get to picks. College Pick'em segment coming up next. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. That's Jim Derry again. Clyde's here. I'm here.
What are you talking about? I'm Jeff Duncan.
We're all Duncan Holder.
I love it.
On Sports 1280.
I was going to go so far as saying Billy Nungesser is the Chris Christie of Louisiana.
Exactly.
That is
going to be a hot
exactly. We come back on air. That's what I'm
in
saying.
The low 90s.
That
The
is
heat
accurate.
index 95 to 100. But then a little bit less humid and not as hot on Friday with highs in the upper 80s.
Yeah,
cool front for the weekend means temperatures in the low to mid 80s and maybe some showers by Sunday. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist David Bernard.
Changes in weather can lead to colds
He
and other
has
ailments.
no
Rely on
say
the
in
most
anything.
accurate, easy to use
Then they need to stop putting.
He doesn't.
They need to stop putting him on ass and bring people to the state.
He had more say as a president.
I know he did.
Yeah.
That's why his boycotted.
He was like, "Oh, we'll be governor."
That's why I'm like Steve Perry and all these people in the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation.
Biggest artists on the planet. Celebrated
Billy
by
Nungesser
radio
just shows
fans
up,
from around the
raises his
world
hand.
for music's holy
has
grail.
no say-so in
Sold
anything.
out 2017 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Coldplay,
thinks he
DJ
does.
Khaled, Thomas Rhett, The Weeknd,
What's
and
ironic about that is that he's doing this now
Catch our iHeartRadio Music Festival TV special Wednesday and Thursday night, October 4th and 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on the CW.
Hurting that process, being like, hey, oh wait, you from where?
All right, 1 minute.
Hey, look at this guy from
Welcome to Zip Poll USA, the polling app that lets you tell the nation what you think. Download the Zip app today. It's Thursday, September 28th. Kylie Jenner is pregnant and Travis Scott is the father. The two have only been together since April. Just too fast. 84% of people polled agree that this is happening. Way too fast. Leaves the other 16% who are saying no. Because they already knew they wanted a family.
I was afraid that I was going to be a part of their show.
Phil Anselmo follows me.
Oh, wait, because that's awesome.
And you can watch the whole time. Are you in or out? First of all, I don't even understand how this is going to work. Second of all, I'm so happy to report that 89% of men and women polled want absolutely nothing to do with this. Finally, an app to create world peace, or maybe just
I think it's cool. I just don't always wonder why.
Well, I mean, fortunately.
Learn what our insiders know about your home teams. Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Welcome back, Dunc and Holder. Clyde's time to shine. Yes. Guys, we probably have about, say, 10 minutes in this segment. So, Clyde, you can't take 20 minutes to gloat about your picks.
Okay, I won't. So I'll take 10 minutes in this segment, then I'll take the other 8 minutes in the other segment to get fully through it. So I get 18 minutes of unabashed self-love.
I'm just going to go get some more coffee.
I can cut your cord in the commercial break.
You had your chance. Okay, look, let's just, for our lovely fans who are wondering our records, we're going to go over that again real quick.
Cut them off, Dave.
Your boy here, of course, leading the pack, 25-15 overall record after a fantastic week last week where I went 7-3.
Look at that bleep-eating grin he's got.
I know, right?
Going on.
It's amazing. It's so good. Jeff Duncan, who of course is in London, he actually went 4-6. He had the worst record last week, but he is still 20-20, which means, unsurprisingly,
who
Larry Holder bringing up the rear as always.
Larry, who decides what games we're going to pick?
We leave it up to Clyde.
I picked some good games. Yeah. Yeah, because, I'm not doing this blind either. Larry, who also went 5-5 last week. So, gentlemen, let's get into the games. Hey, Jim, maybe you'll actually be able to do well for Jeff this week. So, we're starting out of the gate hot.
If I don't finish at least 500, I'm going to...
We're never letting you back on the show.
I'm going to join Larry and get a mullet. No,
That's
I'm
fair.
just kidding.
Okay, great. I don't think that would look good for you. So, guys, big one out of the gate. Clemson at Virginia Tech. Clemson is a 7.5-point favorite on the road. Going to Blacksburg.
I'm going to go Virginia Tech here to not win, but I think it's going to be closer because that's not an easy place to play. Even though Clemson, we saw them roll up on Louisville. Hey, I'm taking.
Yes, they did.
I'm taking Vatech plus 7.5.
I think that Clemson is the second best team in the country, and I think Virginia Tech has a great defense, so I like whatever the under is, but I'm going with the Tigers.
Right.
Not the Fighting Gobblers.
No.
Of Virginia Tech.
I'm going to leave the Gobblers, save them for Thanksgiving.
This ought to be a great game.
Billy Nungesser probably takes the Gobblers.
Oh my gosh!
Because he has a gobbler. I agree with what Jim said, although I do think that Virginia Tech has a legitimate shot. It's hard to play there, but you're right, Jim. Clemson is the second best team in the country, so I'm going with Clemson.
Lone Wolf, I'm in.
All right, the next game, guys, as you talked about with Larry, with Lopez, big game next weekend, but a big game this weekend for Florida. Florida is a 10-point favorite hosting Vanderbilt in the Swamp.
Well, Vandy got embarrassed. I got that one right.
Wait till we get to that game, too. Wait till we talk about Bama later on.
At least I got that one right last week. I am going to go – where are they at?
It's in the Swamp. So it's in Gainesville.
I'm going to go Florida.
This is the classic trap game.
See, we knew we were going to get it. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate
Vandy, look, as bad as they looked last week, everybody and their mama is going to be betting on Florida this week. 10 points, that's all it is 10 points? This is the classic Vegas makes money game. I'm taking Vandy.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you pointed that out. as of course Jeff Duncan would. This is a classic trap. Don't fall into the trap. Don't let the trap play you. You play the trap. Go with Vandy.
I love playing out of the trap, so I'm in.
Yeah. You would at the country club, bro.
Oh, boy.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Third game on the list: Miami at Duke. Miami is a 6-point favorite going to Durham. Duke steamrolled enough North Carolina last week, so Miami 6-point favorite on the road at Duke.
After a Brandon Harris-less North Carolina burned me last week.
Yeah, they did.
I'm going to go Duke at home. Dookie.
I agree. I think that I like the way that Duke is playing right now. I'm not sure if Miami is as good as they seem to be so far, so I'm going to wait and see. But I am also going to take the Dukies. I think they win straight up.
Ooh.
Awesome. I agree. I'm going with Duke, so we're going to go 3 for 3. All right, guys. Fourth game on the list. South Carolina on the road at Texas A&M. South Carolina is a 3.5-point favorite.
At A&M?
At A&M.
Wow.
South Carolina's not very good.
South Carolina.
They're not very.
You're taking South Carolina?
No, I'm just saying. I'm just making sure. I thought you said North Carolina.
No, I said South Carolina's not very good.
Look.
We know what A&M.
I'm going to go A&M. I think that's an easy bet.
Wait, hold on a sec. Hold on, wait. Let me look. I'm looking up. Keep talking. I need to look at something real quick.
Let me guess. The spread's wrong. Clyde's giving us the wrong spread.
No wonder why he's 25-15. He makes up his own spreads too.
I did for one game.
He did for one game.
Actually, hold on. Scratch that. 8.5-point. 8.5-point.
Dog on live radio. We're on live radio.
8.5-point dog to Texas A&M.
Okay, that makes it. That I was gonna say. I
don't
like to fall into
guys.
traps, but that traps. I'm gonna jump into that trap.
So now I am going to take South Carolina. 8.5.
Yes, 8.5 right now.
8.5, and they're 8.5-point dogs. I'm going South Carolina.
I'm going Texas A&M because
Did you see how many points they scored last night?
Yeah, I don't think they're. I never thought they were as bad as they played the first few games. They seem to. Their big overtime win last week against Arkansas, and I think South Carolina's a really bad football team. I'm going to take Texas A&M minus 8.5.
I agree. Going with Texas A&M, especially.
I'm either going to look really good or really bad next week.
It's probably going to be the second. All right, guys. Fifth game. Another big one in the SEC. Georgia on the road at Tennessee. Tennessee +7 to Georgia at home. Georgia obviously has made a really big push the last few weeks. Top 10 team. Tennessee, well, they're Tennessee. What you got? Who you got?
I'm going Georgia. I think Georgia is way legit. Ever since their starting quarterback got hurt and the freshman kid came in, they've been lights out. I'm going Georgia.
Georgia is legit. They are a legit national championship contender, but this game is always a tight game. Last year they had the miracle finish between the two teams, one of the best games you'll ever see. Although Georgia is probably 7 points better than Tennessee because they are who they are and they always play tight games, I'm going to take the Vols.
Okay. I like that logic, but I really do think that Georgia will be able to cover this in droves, so I'm actually going Georgia on this one. All right, guys, next game on the list, going out to Big 12 country again, a battle of two high-powered offenses again, no surprise, talking about the Big 12. Oklahoma State is a 10-point favorite on the road at Texas Tech. You got the mullet versus the cover boy.
Mullet
versus the cover boy.
And Oklahoma State. He's a man. He's about 50 probably by now.
Yeah, he's a man.
Yeah, actually he's a man. He's 47.
47. Close enough.
Well, he's younger than me.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Oh, wait, I'm not supposed to say that on the air. Texas.
But that's giving out your phone number every week.
Yeah, really. Actually, Texas Tech has played fairly decent defensively so far this season, surprisingly. But Oklahoma State is a really good football team, and they have a St. Paul's kid at a receiver, Jalen McCluskey. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
All right. Make that a clean sweep. I like Oklahoma State as well. I think they're going to give some real big problems. It's going to make Bedlam, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the season, a really big game. All right, guys. Another really key matchup, Mississippi State at Auburn. Auburn is a 9.5-point favorite.
Why?
Another team. Hey, look.
What?
Are you sure that's the line?
I'm positive.
That makes no sense.
Wrong.
Well, Mississippi State wouldn't be a 9.5-point favorite at Auburn.
No, but are we sure the number's right?
Yeah, no, it's 9.5. Okay, Auburn is the favorite.
Mississippi State.
I'm jumping right into this trap, right behind Holder.
Mississippi State.
Traps on the tennis court. I'm Mississippi State.
Even after, because another team that we talked about,
Auburn might not score 5 points.
A lot of people.
Well, you don't change your opinion just because of what
LSU couldn't score.
I'm taking
against
State. I don't think Auburn's that great. I really don't.
No. All right, I'm going with Auburn in this one. I'm going to dissent. All right, guys, another high-powered match. This one's actually on Friday, I believe. USC, a 3.5-point favorite on the road at Washington State.
Oh wow!
In Pullman, 3.5 points. Pac-12 matchup.
I'm still going to go USC. They're not as good as everybody thinks, but I'll still go USC. Hey, just doing it.
It's in Washington State.
I am going to go with my good Jack Brown Cougars here on this one. I am going to take Washington State. I think USC has shown that they have holes. To me, they needed some good fortune to beat Texas, and I just don't think they're that. I think Washington State's the real deal, and the only reason why no one ever sees them. So I'm taking Washington State.
Two ranked teams. Obviously, SC has been known to kind of fluctuate these things, but at the end of the day, I like USC in this matchup. All right, guys, we talked about Alabama.
Trojans.
Let's talk about Alabama. Alabama is a 28-point favorite against Ole Miss. Go.
At 27, so I'm gonna go Ole Miss.
I normally take when in the SEC when they're given that many points. I normally take the dog because that is a lot of points. And Nick Saban actually, as big as what kind of human being, I'm going to be nice here.
You've ripped enough people.
Yeah, I really have. So I'm going to lay off of Nick Saban today. But he usually takes his foot off the gas a little bit. He didn't last week, but he did.
Last week.
He didn't last week, but he did the week before that. I think 28 points is a lot. So I'm going to take Ole Miss.
I'm going with Bama. They didn't take their foot off their gas. They could care less.
All right, we'll make our LSU pick, and we got to make the NFL pick tonight because we usually skip.
Because we don't.
So we'll make those picks next and wrap up the show. Coming up next here. Country Fried Friday came early on Thursday.
Country Fried Friday is early.
I gotta see.
Hey, good call on cutting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do I do that? Because one, I know I'm not racist, and two, I think that allowing more voices to talk is always better than less.
All right, so what's the NFL?
All right, so this is a 2-minute break.
For over 80 years in the heart of
What'd you say, Jim?
So anyone who says I'm not a racist
is clearly a racist.
Tradition. Mandina's Restaurant.
What's
Green Bay,
Come in for
Chicago.
some New Orleans
The
steak.
line is 7.5.
Old style.
Yeah, we're gonna have about 4, maybe 4.5 minutes when we get back.
All right, we'll be fine.
And some of the best seafood.
We only got
in
2
the
games
city.
left, which may take 10 minutes.
New Orleans. Always the best. Always Mandina's.
How much time do we have coming out of this?
4.5
Hey, New Orleans,
minutes.
this is Mayor Mitch Landrieu. 12 years ago, New Orleans was brought to her knees
What's
by
the
the
LSU
devastation
line?
of Hurricane Katrina. We all remember it.
20
our
and
thoughts
a
and our
half?
prayers are with those in Texas and southwest Louisiana affected by Hurricane Harvey. That's why I
I
reacted
got
the
that
NOLA
right
Pay It
last
Forward
week.
Fund in partnership with the Greater New
We
Orleans
both got that
Foundation.
last right.
These churches
I
and
was like,
volunteer
oh, these two.
organizations
At least got
show the
them
best
and
of New
Tulane
Orleans.
right.
That's why I'm asking all of New Orleanians to pitch in and help pay it forward by donating today. Those interested in donating to
And I
the
got
fund
Bama
can go
right.
online at
Yeah.
www.glm.org.
We all got Bama.
All the other bombs,
Yes,
I
I
don't
know.
even know.
I'm beginning to believe that other than love and religion, nothing changes your life more than moving your credit score 120 points. I'm John Hope Bryant, founder, chairman, CEO of Operation Hope, and we're working to expand and lift up your credit scores. Operation Hope is partnering with major financial institutions to bring hope inside to places where you shop and flock. Through the Hope 700 Credit Score Communities Initiative, we are helping people with free counseling, loan originations, modifications, and more. Go to OperationHope.org today. Nothing changes America like a role model. I had one growing up. My name is John Hope Bryant. I wear a suit today because my dad wore a suit when I was growing up. But kids want to be rap stars, athletes, and drug dealers all too often because that's what they see in their neighborhood. My mission now is
30 seconds
to see, and you play a role in it. It's called America 2020 and Hope Business in a Box Academies. Go to OperationHope.org today and join the movement to make school cool once again. Visit us on the web at OperationHope.org.
Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Well, Chippy, my neighbor.
Hello, neighbor.
Mr. Rogers passed along friendship, hoping we would too. Friendship, pass it on.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Better life at values.
Give me that cardigan sweater.
Duncan Holder now. Josh Innes next at noon on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
One more segment, Duncan Holder. You missed any of the show, sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube pages. Feel free to go check those out. We've got 2 more games because one is going to be the NFL because we always haphazardly forget to make those picks.
We're not doing that this week.
And we're not going to do that this week. So why don't we do the NFL game first and leave the suspense for LSU Troy. JD.
Green Bay is a 7.5-point favorite on the road in a division game over the Chicago Bears.
I think Chicago stinks. I don't care where the game's played. I'm going to be going, even though the Green Bay Packers kind of dragged their way to beating Cincinnati, I'm going Packers to cover.
Clyde.
I'm actually going with the Bears. I think there's something about these Thursday night games that just prove to be wacky. I'm going with the Bears.
Right, the Bears stink so bad, they're really going to be wacky.
8 times out of 10, a division dog covers.
Oh, here we go. I don't even know what that means.
Well, then
that's why
I took
use your
Packers.
Rummel education to figure out what it means.
That's why we don't gamble illegally at Rummel.
Right. 8 times out of 10, a division dog covers at home. So I am taking Green Bay.
So
I think this is the 2 out of 10.
See?
I think that the Green Bay
have little faith.
Green Bay Packers are they were in a game where they shouldn't have been as tight as they were last week, and they should. I think they're going to win big tonight to prove a point. They got to focus on Tariq Cohen, and they will.
There we go. All right, final game, Clyde. What do we got?
All right, big one of the weekend. Troy at LSU. LSU is a 20.5-point favorite. Now, some quick numbers about both teams against the spread. LSU on the season is 1-3 against the spread so far.
All right,
Troy is 0-4. Something's got to give.
Something's got to give.
Something's got to give. Give me what you got.
For a poke chop.
We're not betting pork chops. I will say.
That sounds good.
Let's go with. I'm going to go Troy. I just think LSU might win by like 17. They're dragging. They're probably not going to have Darius Geis. LSU will win, but by 17.
A good friend of mine once said, never bet against a streak of 3 or more, even though LSU's on 3. Troy's more than 4. I'm going with LSU. I think they have something to prove, and I don't think they will look ahead to Florida. I'm going to take LSU. I'm going to give 20.5. I think they win big.
Yeah, I agree completely with Jim. What we talked
What's
about,
new?
What we talked about last week with LSU facing Syracuse, another Power 5 team, has the same resources, has the same amount of money, quote unquote. They can, and of course, a quarterback that was completely underrated. Troy, I just don't have any faith that they're going to be able to keep up with LSU late. This is the game where they actually make that number. Again, I'm going with LSU as well.
All right. Well,
and they don't have to worry about Billy Nungesser being in the stands.
Oh my gosh, he's not boycotting the LSU game.
Yeah, thankfully, he won't have to take up the 3 seats in the stands he would normally do.
Exactly. So 3 more people can go to this game.
Something would say y'all have a vendetta against Billy Nungesser.
No, I would just say that, like we talked about at the break,
vendetta.
Billy Nungesser is Louisiana's Chris Christie. So hey, man, whatever.
Wow. I don't know where this show, Dave. I don't even know where to go with this.
We have rendered Larry Holder speechless.
Finally.
Thank goodness this show is ending.
It took us 3 months to do it.
1 minute.
Show is on the edge of insanity.
How about them Green Bay Packers tonight?
Yeah, they're going to win. So there we go. So want to thank Jeff Duncan from across the pond.
Chip, chip, cheerio.
Andrew Lopez.
I miss you, Jeff.
Also, Julia O'Donoghue.
I want to thank Duncan for saying thank you to me for hosting his own show.
30 seconds.
You're so nice.
Oh, my gosh. Cut y'all's mics off. Tomorrow should be a great show. Plenty of Saints, plenty of Dolphins talk. And look, Josh Innes is coming up next, and we will be back here tomorrow. So for Jim Derry, for Clyde, I'm Larry Holder. Thanks for Dave back in the studio. Come on back tomorrow. Sports 1280, NOLA.com. And the iHeart Radio app. We're Duncan Holder.
10 seconds.
Jeez. lot of Billy Nunn guesser. 8. Jeez.
The mortgage crisis may not have